How are you?
Not bad at all. Did I just tread on you?
No, not at all. Please have a seat. Excellent. So, this is exciting.
Yes, it is exciting.
This is our chance to ask each other...
all the things we've asked each other off camera, but now do it in front of the camera.
But now do it in front of camera, absolutely. And I'm going to try and be much more profound and insightful than I ever have been off camera.
Go for it. I'm looking forward to this.
Okay, yeah. This is my chance where I realised that doing the interviewing is actually not an easy thing to do at all.
That's okay. We can swap. I can interview you.
Yeah. That would be brilliant. Okay, so I thought to begin at the beginning, how involved were you in the casting process, and how much do I have to thank you for? But do you remember working with Chris? Or?
Yeah, I was involved, not to the extent that I was sitting in on auditions, but they were keeping me really fully informed. As you know, we found Rupert and Emma, and they were perfect, and that was a done deal, and we still couldn't find you. Will you say how you were found? Well, it was just it was amazing, really.
It was a bizarre kind of moment. Originally, what had happened was that David Heyman, the producer, knew my dad because my dad had been a literary agent, and my dad had worked with David's mum. And so David sort of asked my dad if I would audition, and the original deal that we'd heard was going to be to do 6 films, and it was going to be done in America, and it was all sort of, It
was going to be done in America? No one ever told me that.
Well, obviously, maybe that's why it changed, because you probably put your foot down at some point, or they just went, Joe won't agree to that.
They know me quite well.
Which was good, to be honest. That would have not been good. But I'm not somebody who particularly believes in fate and destiny and all those things, but my parents do. And so the final straw was the fact that I went to the theatre to see a production of Stones in His Pockets, and David Heyman and Steve Clovis, who adapted all but one of the books, happened to be sitting in the row in front.
You believe it?
And I was sat there for the whole time thinking, why is that man keep
staring at me? This is
me?
very creepy.
It was very creepy.
I need to phone someone.
It was very odd. And I remember at the interval, my mum and my dad both looking kind of quite intense about something. But when as a kid you're aware that you're being purposely kept out of the loop, for your own good kind of thing. And I remember we went up the stairs and out of the theatre, and then sort of hid behind a pillar. I seem to remember that it's some absurd notion that David Heyman and Steve Clovis were going to chase after us, grab us.
And make you be a child actor.
and then there was some debate as to whether we would go back in for the second half, but I was really enjoying the play. Yeah, and so we went back in, and then the next day my mum and dad sort of went, oh, well, maybe it is the gods sort of trying to tell us something,
But there were a lot of strange coincidences. And then they called me and said, we think we've found him. And then the first time I ever saw you was on screen in my sitting room at home. Because they sent me a video of you. And the curious thing is, and I'm like, I don't believe in fate and destiny.
Which is interesting, because it comes up so much in the book.
Absolutely. I think you make your own.
Yeah.
But, so I saw you on that audition tape, and it was, I don't think I've ever really told you that I found incredibly moving.
Oh, thank you.
And almost, it was incredibly moving. At that point, I didn't have a son.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So, and I phoned David up, and I said, he's great, he's fantastic. And I did say to David, it was like watching my son on screen. Because after all, Harry feels like this ghostly son that I've had in my life. But, to be honest, you and Rupert and Emma are all too good looking, frankly. Oh. You are, the characters were geeky, and you...
Did you know that was going to happen? Did you sort of think they might...
I'm not an idiot. Yeah. I did, particularly when do you know what? It was really lucky I spoke to Emma first on the phone before I met her, because I fell absolutely in love with her. She said to me, I've only ever acted in school drama plays before, and God, oh my God, I'm so nervous, I can't believe I got the part. And then she spoke for like 60 seconds at least without drawing breath, and I just said, Emma, you're perfect. And then when I met her, and she was this very beautiful, which she still is, of course, beautiful girl, I just kind of had to go, okay, it's film, deal with it. I'm going to still see my gawky, geeky, ugly duckling Hermione in my mind, but...
Do you think that in a way we shot ourselves in the foot with things like that for then Emma's reveal in the 4th film, where she comes downstairs and there is supposed to have been this transformation?
Well, exactly.
Because we were all looking going, well, she was already a beautiful girl.
Yeah, big deal. Now she's a beautiful girl in a beautiful dress.
Yes.
And putting her in Fair Isle sweaters in the first film didn't make her ugly. Not that Hermione in the books is ever ugly, but it was quite a big deal for me that I had written... a strong female character who was primarily about brain, and that she chose to become a little more groomed and glamorous as us geeks do at a certain point in our lives. But I accepted it. Emma's a great actress, and I loved her as a person.
Yeah.
And I felt there were so many connections between her and Hermione that did it matter that she was beautiful? Come on.
But it was interesting you mentioned about that audition, because I was given a copy of my audition where I was... it turns out, because neither me, Rupert and Emma could remember this, but it turns out we did all audition together once. There was a screen
I
test
didn't know that.
where they all tested us all at the same time. And I could hear Chris Columbus's voice off camera.
Hello, it's the German Harry. Time to leave. Be gone from the library, now. Cut! Great work, guys.
And I just remembered, God, he was brilliant. He was amazing with us. I don't think anybody else could have got the enthusiasm out of those
He's just the nicest guy in the world, isn't he?
Nicest guy in the world.
And a real family man.
Oh,
I remember
yeah.
meeting him and being... I don't know, where is not the right word, but obviously this is the person who's going to be taking my baby. And same way I felt when I met Steve Clovis, whom I absolutely adore as well. But, you know, first time you meet these people, and he was just such a nice guy. And the relief, both that my book would be in safe hands, but to be honestly, that you were all going to be in safe hands as well.
In England, it's different than in America. In America, they treat you first and foremost as a star and then as a child, whereas actually you should be treated as a kid first and then an actor second.
Do you think you had any idea that young of what you were really taking on?
Not really, because I wasn't even then fully aware of the scale of the phenomena at all. I mean, I'd had the first two read to me by my dad, who incidentally did a great basilisk voice.
Did he?
Yeah, fantastic back in the day. I did actually at one point.
I can actually imagine your dad doing that.
Yeah, my dad, I did actually suggest it to Chris Columbus, which my dad was completely mortified by. But no,
sweet.
No, I don't think I could have ever had any, and even now, I don't actually think I have an understanding of how far it reaches, because it is a case of not being able to see the wood for the trees. You know, I'm so much in the middle of it that I actually can't see how far out it stretches.
I had exactly the same experience, although I think for a while I deliberately kept myself insulated from it. I didn't want to think about it. And when people would give me statistics, so many books sold or so many territories covered, and you just think, I just want it to be me and my desk. I don't... Yeah. And you know, again, people will watch and think, oh, come on, you know, you could see the royalty checks coming in. I'm sure you noticed this.
Yes.
And yes, absolutely, I knew it was. But there was a scariness and a pressure and sometimes a weirdness about and you know this and I know this, when people are obsessional about something on the outer fringes, you will have, you know, strange things going on that you maybe don't want to focus on too much when you just want to write your book.